I'm suggesting that we end the federal income tax and let blue states charge whatever they want in tax and form a compact within the United States. Now, basically give the billionaires what they want and give the rest of us what we want. Sound crazy? Check it out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends. Be sure to leave your comments and subscribe to our channel. I want to start out with these conservative billionaires. All right, over the last 40 years, and really, arguably, it goes back more like 50 years because it goes back to the Lewis Powell memo back in 1971. But they really seized power in 1980 or 81 when Ronald Reagan was, elected president after cutting a deal with the Iranians to hold the hostages to make Jimmy Carter look bad. And for those 40, and that's pretty much exactly 40 years ago today, or 40 years ago now. In that 40 years, these billionaires have built this huge infrastructure in the United States. All these think tanks, the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and the Heartland Institute, and the Cato Institute, and every single state has one. In Michigan, it's the Mackinac Center. I mean, literally every state has one of these right-wing think tanks funded by the billionaire class. You've got ALEC all across the United States. And basically the fundamental message of all of them has been what David Koch ran for president on the platform on which he ran back in 1980, which is end the federal income tax, and then with the federal government having no cash, end Medicare, end Medicaid, privatize Social Security. Although that, doing away with the federal income tax would not affect Social Security because it has its own separate tax, the FICA tax. But anyhow, privatize Social Security, turn all of our roads into toll roads, end all municipal ownership of everything, end free public schooling of all forms, not just college, but, elementary school, end all that. Just stop it all. This is what the billionaires have been pushing for 40 years now, literally. And what the Republican Party has gone along with. I mean, you got Betsy DeVos in there. More than half the schools in Michigan now are privatized. For example, that's her home state, Michigan. The DeVos family are the billionaire royalty of the state of Michigan. And so I'm suggesting that we give them what they want. They've been ranting and raving for years and years about, end the federal income tax. And I'm saying, fine, end the federal income tax. Let's take it to zero. Let the federal government pay for the military with tariffs and fees like they did from the founding of the Republic right up until World War I. The federal income tax wasn't even put into place until 1913. So just fine, end the federal income tax. And then the blue states, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, maybe New Mexico, I believe. And then on the East Coast, you've got all those northeastern states, that whole huge chunk of northeastern states. And then in the middle of the country, you've got Illinois and Minnesota. Let the blue states form an interstate compact. And there's plenty of precedent for this. The states of the Northeast did this first with a cap and trade thing on greenhouse gases. That was then emulated by a Western states compact. That's California, Oregon, and Washington State. We're all cutting back on greenhouse gases. Let's form an interstate compact among the blue states to provide all of our citizens with single-payer health care. We can do this. I mean, the blue states represent between 2/3 and 3/4 of the entire economy of the United States and the entire population of the United States, even though they hold essentially a minority in the Electoral College because of senators and things. So let's just end the federal income tax, because really what it has become is a giant transfer of wealth from productive blue states and productive people in blue states through paying 20, 30, 40, 50% of their taxes to the federal government. Now it's down, it's kind of capped at 30% now, but, at various times it's been, when Ronald Reagan came into office in 1981, the top federal income tax rate was 74%. So just do away with that and let the states have income taxes Well, by doing it, they already have the right to do it. So by doing away with the federal income tax, now the states can have their own state income taxes, and they can charge 20, 30% on income in their states. And by the way, the blue states are where all the high income, earners are. And the blue states can put together their own equivalent of the Department of Education, and they can fund higher education in the blue states, and they can put together their own version of Medicare, and they can fund single-payer health care in all the blue states, and they can put together their own version of the Environmental Protection Agency, and they can keep their air and water clean. The polluting industries have largely already fled to the red states. You've got, a Cancer Alley is Texas and Louisiana. It's where all the refineries are, poison, dumping all their poison on people. So they're already in the red states. I mean, the red states have already largely accomplished this deregulation that the billionaire class, Charles Koch and his buddies are trying to inflict on the rest of America. So, food stamps, the federal food stamp program. The red states don't want it to happen. They're tightening the screws. They're making it harder and harder and harder for their people to get food stamps. Leave them alone. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at, for example, Mississippi, almost one quarter, 24% of the recipients of Mississippi are on food stamps, compared to 10% in California. If they're so gung-ho about states' rights when it comes to women getting abortions, or gun rights, right? Why not, or the right to vote, for that matter? If they're so gung-ho about, having states' rights, give them states' rights. Okay, guys. For every dollar Mississippi sends to Washington, D.C., they get back $4. Why am I paying for that? I'm in a blue state. America's wealthiest billionaires, the Walton family, the Kochs, Jeff Bezos, they've been working for years to gut union protections. Fine. Let them have their right to work for less laws. Those laws are in place in pretty much every red state right now. Let the blue states go their own way and strengthen union rights. And when the red states start to collapse under the weight of their stupid libertarian ideology that they're trying to inflict on our entire country, these newly separate blue states of America can say, well, sort of like is happening in Europe right now, or happened in Europe 20 years ago. They can say to those countries, well, if you want to join our union, if you want to join our the blue state interstate compact, you have to raise your top tax rate up to 35 or 40 or 50%. You have to provide Medicare for all of your citizens. You have to provide free college education to everybody in your state. You have to do away with your restrictive abortion laws and other weird healthcare things and prayer in public. Just let's go back to the ideas that animated the founding of this country. Separation of church and state. You do those things, and you can join the Blue State Compact. And let's see how rapidly America becomes blue. So, do you think I'm crazy? Or do you think I'm onto something here? Can you punch holes in this? I realize many of you live in red states, and this may sound pretty gruesome to the people living in red states. Can you move? Or what do you do? Might this be the shock that causes red states to wake the hell up?